All right, we rolling. But no, dude, I was scrolling through Netflix last night, and because Gloria and I were gonna watch a show, and she just crashed. I was like, oh, we'll just watch this. And it was this anime Netflix original, I think, called Hero Mask, and it was bad.
Oh, okay.
I joked with her. I was like, there are very few things that I've engaged with pop culture wise recently where I've actually felt that the quality was not worth putting anything into. That it just literally was like, this is just bad.
Like you could just tell on the onset that
it was
horrendous.
Like there was like a chase scene they did with cars, and I kid you not, like some of the things, it was like one still was just popping up, and the cutting was just so fast and it was disorienting, and then the voice acting was really rough, and it was oof.
There was somebody on Reddit. I think I've seen stuff on Reddit about people complaining about Netflix and anime, and pretty much Castlevania sounds like it's the only one that kind of made it out alive.
Well, that was the thing, is because part of my brain was like, interesting, this is a very fascinating scenario, because I'm watching something that I objectively am thinking, this person is not reading their lines the way they should be for this moment. There's a sad moment, and her voice is stilted, and then the guy's response is stilted, and it just did not flow.
Yeah.
Like there was no. It was like I am watching animated characters in like just very poorly rendered and just not in an actual world. And then after that, I was like, this is dumb. I'm going to watch Castlevania. And I finished the show yesterday, and holy crap. It just was like, this is why this is good. It's all the banter is natural. Everyone has these really the voice actors are fantastic. There's these quips that are flying back and forth. There's this intensity. The animation is amazing. The violence and all the blood, and it's just, everything is fantastic. The characters are deep. Dracula's fantastic. It's so good. And it was just, there was all these elements that kind of came together, and it was like, this is why this is a good show, and this is why that was a really bad show, and no one should watch that show, and everyone should watch this one. Is
interesting.
Yeah, just the objective things that you can look at.
Pretty much all of my shows have finished for the year.
Yeah.
So
it's super entertaining. And at 12 episodes to watch the entirety of the show at 20 minutes a pop,
easy,
it's a quick, you'll probably fly through it. And it's entertaining. So I think the thing to be wary of, and I could see people having this gripe, is in a way it's the story itself isn't very complicated, but I think what I appreciated so much about it that felt very different is they weren't afraid to just tell a very short story with these characters that they had and just finish it. There wasn't any dragging on of, well, we need to drag this into next season, so this actually isn't going to work out. And the way they ended the second season, I was genuinely surprised of like, holy crap, like I didn't think they would actually go through with that, but they did, and it was amazing, and it paid off, and there was weight to it. So I think it's spectacular. Cool. It's really well done, and it absolutely deserves all the praise that it's been getting, and I'm really excited that they're making a third season. So, but chill out, Netflix. There's too much crap that you're making. Half of it isn't good.
Yeah, they're pumping out stuff.
Oh my goodness.
I think they're going for quantity over quality with a lot of things. They're just trying to like get a lot of stuff out there so people subscribe to them. And
right. Well, and that's what I don't understand is, but then they'll cancel Daredevil and Luke Cage and
there's
all this
something
stuff.
fishy going on.
I don't
know.
Because
at first I was like, it's quality because they got rid of Iron Fist and stuff like that. But then Daredevil came, and it was like, yeah, the numbers were down from last season, but like the viewership was still there and people liked it. So something fishy's going on.
Yeah, it's tripping me out a little bit.
Oh yeah, next, like easy.
Because did Jessica Jones officially get axed yet?
Not yet. But there's a second season coming out.
Right, I
thought third season.
Third season, I think. Yeah.
So that'll get axed too, I bet. And it kind of sucks because my guess is Punisher was finished before. Like, if they haven't been officially canceled, like Daredevil wasn't officially canceled until like after they aired it and all the actors and everybody was surprised. I feel like the Punisher people don't know that, but maybe they kind of see it coming, but they can't plan for that.
Right, exactly.
So my fear is it's not going to wrap up well.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like the same thing with Daredevil, where it's like it kind of wraps up the season, but like it leaves a lot of implications open. So,
which is frustrating because I feel like if this was prior knowledge that was out in the open earlier, they could have actually made a really cool ending to the show and just kind of close it off. Because I feel like that's what happened with Daredevil season 3 is if you look at it from one side, other than the bullseye reveal at the end.
Yeah,
it does kind of like wrap up.
Part
of me
if
was
they would have known,
more.
they could have left that out and it would have been fine.
Yeah,
like they could have left the bullseye stuff.
Yeah, they just go back to
but
being
that kind of
lawyers.
left it open ended and
right.
And the whole lawyer thing, I was kind of excited for that because I was like, I want them to go back to lawyer by day, Daredevil by night, sort of.
Yeah.
So
this is a total tangent. I'm gonna own it, but I think it's a valid question. Does your opinion of how the season ended, because of how the season ended, does your opinion change at all in terms of the conclusion?
What do you mean?
So, I think in our original discussion, we were both kind of like, I don't really know. Like,
I guess when we did the episode,
we didn't
it
know
hadn't gotten
about
canceled
yeah,
yet.
exactly. So with how it was wrapped up and like Matt actually beating Fisk and Fisk actually going away to prison and all this stuff, does that change at all for you in your perception?
No, I think it wraps up well enough that I didn't feel like I needed another season.
Sure.
But they left enough stuff open that I was excited for another season.
Sure.
And I mean, we knew that season 4 it wrapped up filming, I'm pretty sure. Or like it was just about to start. I don't know. But I think my opinion's about the same. I think the season was still really good.
Sure.
And I don't want to fault the people who made it for not wrapping it up because Netflix is the one who
because it just
threw in the towel
right.
for some reason.
Which whatever.
I wish they would just like
just own it. Yeah,
but maybe
just
they can't. I don't know,
whatever.
legal reasons.
Yeah.
There's something going on between Disney and Netflix.
Yep.
Some weird, I don't know, subtweet game or something going on here.
Probably.
So, and Disney has confirmed that most of their shows are not going to, like, I think Disney can't use the characters for 2 years after the show is finished. So, like, even if they were going to do
Take
Daredevil,
it up, they can't do
they'd have to
anything
wait
for 2 years.
2 years from this year.
What?
To use it. And Punisher, they'd have to wait 2 years from next year.
Oh,
so it's kind of like, if anything, they're probably just going to restart. And hopefully if they do restart, they use maybe the same people, because that would kind of suck if you just get shafted and like your whole show gets kind of moved over a new, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's hard.
So,
I feel like the superhero game right now is it's in a weird spot because we've been, I think it's at the fault of Marvel in a good way. We've been spoiled with consistency for 10 years. And so now all of a sudden, it's like we had like 3 Spider-Mans.
What?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is how it's been for 4 years. Like, you can't just stop on this.
Yeah.
But my question came from that because part of me was thinking, man, I think I actually might have a higher opinion of season 3 now, looking at it through the lens of like it's done. It just that, like, I think if you were to rewatch it, that final fight with Matt and Fisk and Matt actually beating Fisk.
Yeah, I guess it has a little bit more
weight.
Emotional weight, maybe,
right.
knowing that it's the final season.
Right. The rest of it is I still have the same gripes. But I think the conclusion you could carry in of like, wow, this is actually pretty satisfying of he actually did win and he had to combat all this stuff. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a side thing.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, Castlevania's great. Watch it.
Cool.
Daredevil season 3.
I'll check that out.
Suck there's not a 4. But
yeah.
Dude, I am stoked. Punisher did get confirmed for 2019, January.
Yep, January.
So I'm excited.
We'll probably be doing an episode on that. We'll binge it and do it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited for that. So
Jigsaw coming back.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. So Happy New Year, punks.
Yeah.
Our schedule's a little bit off.
Yes,
so
just a bit.
Technically, it is before Christmas right now. But this episode will be airing on New Year's, I believe, or sometime around. So it should be 2019 when you're hearing this. We're trying to prep for the holidays coming up because we're gonna have a lot of outages and a lot of vacationing time. So we won't be able to record on our usual schedule, but we want to keep your ears filled with joy over the holiday season. So this one should be coming up around New Year's. So yeah. And on that note, welcome to 2019 with the Pop Culture Punks. I don't have my little kazoo.
Future.
But yeah, we're excited about how last year went. I think I'm excited. I don't know if you're excited, but I'm excited. I don't want to speak for you.
I'm projecting my future self into.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine what I would say in 2 weeks.
Greetings, Josh of 2019. 2018 was okay.
2018.
It kind of sucked in some things, but there were others that were great. Remember those days. Remember those nights when Infinity War came out.
Oh gosh.
And Red Dead
Redemption.
Redemption.
We get part 2 next year, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Endgame, baby.
Dog, that's
or
gonna be
this year.
gnarly.
We get Endgame this
We get
year.
Endgame this year.
2019.
Correct.
We're going to have a lot of continuity errors in this episode.
Yeah. So
yeah, I
bear
think
with us.
this year's going to be good. 2019 is going to be good to us.
Yep.
It's going to be hard to top 2018's games, though.
Yeah.
We'll
I think I need a
do an
little
episode
break.
on looking forward, but
yeah, I think I need a little break.
There's a lot coming out this year as well. So
yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about this week.
No, it's not.
This week we're finally. It's been a while. I think it's been about a month, maybe. But we're going to be talking about the Pokemon games that came out for the Switch, kicking off the new year with discussing, kicking
it off with a
disgusting review, discussion/review.
Yep.
We always call them reviews, but I feel like it's just more of a discussion. Like
just talking about
I don't really consider myself to be like a very good critical person. Like
that's actually pretty accurate.
I can think about things like critically, but not in the way that like a traditional
music when you start the battles is
like
subpar.
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts like that, but I don't know how to organize things into like a review sort of fashion. So, but we'll be having a discussion about the newest Pokemon games that came out for the Switch this year or last year. In November. It was November 16th, I believe. So yeah, it was Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Evee. I believe we both got Pikachu.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can't comment on Evee, but the only difference is that Evee is the starter instead of Pikachu, and a couple variances in Pokemon availability. So yeah, that's what we'll be talking about today. We're not gonna do the usual pop culture updates, other than a little Castlevania blurb we had at the beginning there.
That's my only thing.
It's gonna mess up with the whole timeline here.
And you will be hearing more about that in the episode before this one.
Yeah.
So the
episode we're recording tomorrow.
This is super
that's coming
meta.
out a week ago.
It's like this is super like
we're messing with your minds right now.
Timeline.
Keep it real. It'll all make sense to you when you're listening to this because you'll have already heard everything else.
You'll be like, oh yeah, he did say that.
And we'll probably
predicting the future, baby.
We'll probably make some jokes in the episode last week about the episode this week, like we're predicting the future. So if you're keeping track with us, I'm curious what your initial thoughts on the games are, do we want to go into Pokemon and the kind of the context of these games and what they're coming out in, and discuss the culture of these games before we get into the review of it?
I like both of those ideas. Okay. Let's do the context and the culture, because I think that's kind of important with the climate of gaming right now, and especially we're both, I would say, hardcore Pokemon fans in that I've played every game. The only gen I think I missed, at least playing like from beginning to through the Elite Four, was like the Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, but I think I've played every other gen all the way through. And but we are definitely not the hyper
there's two kinds of hardcore Pokemon fans. There's like the
I
hardcore
played
nostalgia
every single game
where you've played every game, even though you're an adult, you've played every single Pokemon game. And then there's the people who put like hundreds of hours into the individual games, and breeding and training, and
for competitive.
Both of them are valid, but we're coming from the first perspective of like, we're not hardcore, but like we'll pretty much buy any Pokemon game that they put out, and we'll play it.
Yep.
So regardless of cost. So
correct.
as we've proven.
Correcto mundo.
So Not sure where we're going with that, but
so more just putting that out there of just, I feel like it's with our climate right now, people are like, well, you're not talking about IV training and how they took IV training out, because I don't care. Like,
we're coming from the perspective of,
and if you care, that's cool.
From their perspective, we're casuals.
Yes,
we're casual. We're casual hardcore Pokemon fans.
This next year, in 2019, whatever.
So that being said, coming into these games, there's been a lot of controversy back and forth. Similar to Fallout 76, except I think the post-release backlash has been completely different. But I think these games sort of split the franchise, split the fan base down the middle, kind of between those two fans, because these games were intended to be a more casual experience. Even though Pokemon's been pretty casual, I would say, at least from our play style perspective. But they kind of stripped away a lot of that IV training, and there's still that kind of stuff in it, but I don't understand the nuances enough to compare them. But those people, the other type of hardcore player, were kind of miffed at the way that they were making these games a little more casual. And so there was a lot of controversy leading up to them with that. That being said, I haven't seen a ton of people complaining about them.
Mm-mm.
There are people on Reddit who are like, not my thing, not buying it, but it's not a lot of like,
This is the worst game ever made. And,
people thinking that this game is going to ruin Pokemon forever, sort of. There's those people, but it hasn't been bad. So I think that was the culture going up to it, and I think post-release it's kind of mellowed out, and a lot of people are finding enjoyment in them, from what I can tell, and they're getting good ratings, like eights and a half.
It's gotten
it's
perfectly
not top
valid.
tier,
Yeah.
Pretty on par
say,
for Pokemon, I would say.
Definitely. I would say I haven't seen anyone talk about it or give a review or make any comments about it that seemed unwarranted, at least from the sphere that I've gone to. A lot of you people on YouTube, I think, that are more Nintendo based channels that have talked about it have been like, this is awesome, like this is great. But I also don't know how deep it's interesting. It seems like the more hardcore fan bases for certain games tend to be really volatile to anything new. Like, I know there's a whole bunch of people who are in an uproar about the new Smash and like, the balancing is off and these characters suck and blah blah blah, and it's just like, it is what it is. Like, just let it go. Love it or hate it for what it is, not for what it should have been in your own mind. Like, that's
one thing
issue.
I've appreciated about the Pokemon fan base. I mean,
for the most part,
by fan base, I mostly mean what I see on Reddit and what I see in comment sections on YouTube.
Your
and
average
stuff.
Pokemon fan.
And it seemed pretty mellow, I would say. Like, a lot of people were really skeptical before release.
I think rightfully so.
And there's a lot of people who are, I think, with this game, all of the complaints people had, I was like, I get that. Like, I understand you don't want to pay $60 for this type of game, or you don't want to, or you're mad that the mechanics were taken out. Like, I get all that stuff. But for me, I'm like, nostalgia.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Nostalgia calls.
Yeah.
Or people are miffed
Absolutely.
about it going back to Kanto again for the third time. And so I think all of the complaints I saw were valid, and it didn't get too out of hand from what I've seen.
Definitely.
So, which is cool.
Yeah. So jumping in, I think from that being the context that we're approaching it, jumping into our initial perspective. So I really, really enjoyed it. And I think so also disclaimer, I did not finish the game. I made it to, so those who are familiar with the Pokemon Yellow, I made it to
I guess
Silph
we didn't
Co.
actually explain what they are.
Yeah, so they're remakes of the original Pokemon Yellow, and they're made on the Switch. So just in case people didn't know, but so I made it to Silph Co, which is about halfway through the game, because I think I've beaten 4 gym leaders or 5.
Yeah, you depending on
where you go,
where you go, you can do it before the 5th gym.
Yeah,
I usually do it after, but you can. You can.
Yeah,
so there's that weird middle section where they give you a tiny bit more freedom than you're used to having.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, but my initial impressions from this game, or not initial, I guess. What I think of this game is it is great. I think it's really good. I think I can totally understand people being really shaken and tossed a little bit in them taking out the battle mechanics for wild Pokemon and throwing in the catch mechanics if you have to like shake the Pokeball, which honestly like really wasn't that bad, because everyone hyperbolically jokes that it's like, oh, I need to like swing my arm for 40 hours, and it's like, it's a wrist flick. That's all you have to do. I have my own gripes about how that was navigated with some of the Pokemon in the wild, specifically ones that fly. That was a huge pain in the butt. But in general, I actually really liked it, and I think the majority of the new stuff that they added, I actually think made the game more fun to me. Specifically because I think when I was younger and when we were younger, we had all the time in the world. I could blow Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until 6 at night playing Pokemon because I didn't have anything to do. And all I had to do was do homework after 6 on Sunday, and that was it. But now it's like I don't have the time to sit or not even that I don't have the time. I don't want to use my time. That's why I've not played a lot of JRPGs, especially, or RPGs recently, I don't have the time to just go out and grind to just barely get through the next boss to then have to rinse, repeat that, do the same thing over and over and over again. And so I think this game felt more fun catching Pokemon in the wild, that you don't have the EXP share and you don't have to navigate that. It's a fairly fair distribution system of EXP. There's tons of trainer battles, so you still get the battle mechanics, and it's fun. I never played a second of this game in handheld mode. It was always on the TV and docked, and I loved that I got to play a Pokemon game, like a mainstream Pokemon game, on my TV, because that hasn't happened yet. Like the last
Other than
games
if
that
you
were
had like the adapters that
right, exactly. But like a full-fledged 3D rendered Pokemon game on the Switch, and it was freaking awesome, and I loved it. Like just hearing the richness of the music and just getting to run around, how good the graphics looked on my TV. It was charming. Like there was this allure to how that experience of just like, wow, I remember playing this on a 3-inch by 3-inch screen in a car with it like, jammed in my face because I couldn't understand the pixel art or things like that. And now I'm like watching it in this 1080p render, and it's, there's all these cool effects, and I'm watching these 3D battles take place and the cool moves and the animation, and it just was like, man, this is the future of Pokemon now, which I think was just like, middle school me would have geeked out so hard if he knew that this was coming, that this was going to be the future of it. I did have my gripes with some of the things, but I think there are things just kind of inherently in Pokemon, and I think in this stage of life, I'm more critical of those aspects in games. I don't think they're bad for everybody as pejoratively, but I think, again, like I said,
I feel like it's one of those things where like we can get into the cons in more nitty gritty later, but I think Pokemon, there's a lot of things wrong with Pokemon, but not enough things wrong to get me to not play it. Like it's kind of like every time I play it, I'm like, I wish that wasn't a thing. I wish they would change it. And sometimes they do change things. And with Sun and Moon, they kind of started shifting things a little bit. But yeah, I think Pokemon's always going to have those things because it never really revolutionizes. Like it never revolutionizes anything because it's just they always play it safe, which is understandable. But
So any other additions? I just kind of rambled off whatever I had on the top of my head, but your general feel.
I pretty much agree with you. I played exclusively in handheld. I've got my own gripes about that I can talk about later. But yeah, I really loved it. I think the graphics, because it's funny because as I was playing it, I didn't think the graphics actually looked much different just because it's been a while since I played it, and you kind of have the gradual change in graphics. You tend not to notice, but I've seen pictures of like sprites side by side, and I'm like, holy cow, like that's insane. So yeah, just playing the graphics and like just note for note, the game feels just like I'm a kid again playing Blue version. Definitely. Other than like the minor changes, but like overall, the things they added don't affect that nostalgic experience I was going in hoping to find, because like all of the trainer battles you're expecting are there. All of the gym battles you're expecting are there. And like, oh, I remember that. That looks so cool in 3D now. Like, oh, that's what that thing was.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like, there's all these little things that you can finally explore the caves in 3D and see like what things should have looked like and probably what they envisioned things actually looked like. But they were limited to the little pixels. So it's been really cool just seeing that. And I think all of the music has been redone, and it's just fantastic. I think I've played with the music on in this game more than I ever have in other Pokemon games. Because after a while you kind of just get sick of hearing the battle music and stuff. But I think I've played the music more than I ever have in this game. So it's been fantastic.
Definitely.
And yeah, I mean there's a lot of things I've liked about it. Just for context, I beat the game. I think I've got 30 hours into it. I pretty much beat everything. Beat all the gym leaders twice. Beat the league the second time, beat blue and green. I never beat red. I was going to. I tried to do it, but it's just too much stuff you have to do to get him to show up. So I decided not to do that. And I didn't try out any of I beat 2 of the master trainers, but that's about it. They're like way above what you could hope to do without actually like trying to train your
right
Pokemon.
For sure.
Like their stats are all twice what yours are at the same level. So
goodness sakes.
Yeah. I just got lucky. I looked up some videos and got lucky on a couple of them. So
nice.
So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think my general consensus is it's a great game. It's really fun. The nostalgia is there. There's enough new stuff that keeps you coming along in the modern way of gaming. And it feels good. And I don't think the Pokemon Go mechanics are what I thought they were going to be when they when they first announced these games. I was like, ooh, they're ruining Fallout and Pokemon in the same year.
No!
Like everything is over with,
right? Exactly.
And they're coming out in the same week.
Yeah,
Frick, that week's gonna suck.
Yeah.
But it's so minuscule, and I didn't play in. We'll get to it, but I didn't play. I didn't play in docked mode because of what you said before, but. Playing in handheld mode, like the motion controls are still there, but it's just so non-existent, and it works so smoothly that I didn't really even like notice it. It didn't hinder my Pokemon playing experience.
Sure.
So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I think jumping into some of the details. So some of the things that I especially liked, I loved, and we mentioned it before with our initial impressions. I think a couple when we had that episode the week that it came out. But I loved the Pokemon appearing in the wild and getting to see them. Like I think there was something about it.
I think that's literally one of the best additions to the Pokemon 100%. That they've ever made.
Yeah, just like it was so fun. And it made wanting to catch new Pokemon actually something I wanted to do.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Versus
I was
dread of like
catching every new Pokemon I found.
Right.
And like,
well, because then you're geeking out where you're like, oh frick, like I haven't seen that dude.
Growlithe?
Yeah, and you're like, boom, you know, beelining like
or a Chansey randomly pops up and you're like,
exactly.
You can catch those in the wild.
Yeah,
now?
exactly.
Dude.
Yeah. So there were things like that where I was like, man, this is so much better, and it was just. It was charming. Like it was, again, I feel like this game just had a lot of charm, and there was a lot of moments where, you know, you're walking through the wild and all of a sudden there's like Growlithe popping up everywhere and you're like, oh snap. And then there's like, but they're like running around, and there were a couple times where I was right on the edge in the wild, just kind of running around, and there'd be a wild Pokemon that would just kind of meander into town, like right on the edge, and then it'd like run back. And it was things like that where I was like, man, that's just so cool, because that's probably it felt more fun to see things pop up, because, and in a way I feel like that's more realistic to how the games imply
it's more realistic, it's more fun. It's just, I feel like it just works better. Like having it be wild and random encounters is unnecessary for this kind of game. Like there's like
what's the point?
Almost
of
no
it?
reason other than nostalgia,
and just
like,
to piss
that's the way things work.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and like being able to avoid Zubats in that Mount Moon was a godsend.
This game deserves a 10 out of 10 just for that alone.
Letting me be able to avoid
my gosh.
Zubats.
It's like I swear on my life that this is another freaking Zubat. Oh, it's a Golbat. Even like
It's kind of funny because like playing in the caves, like I think I've talked about this before a couple episodes ago or whatever, but like I just remember having so much anxiety for some reason.
Yeah, dude,
in those
for
caves,
real.
like
they
just
were the
getting
worst.
like 2 steps, Zubat, run, 2 steps, Zubat, and just getting so ticked off. And I had like walking through the caves in this game, like I had the same anxious feeling the whole time. And every like 10 steps, I would like get this nice pulse of like happiness of like, oh, I don't have to worry anymore. Like I can just walk around freely and search for all the items and all the trainers, and like, because I intentionally look for all the trainers, and when you got wild encounters, you almost don't want to do it because you're just like, all right, get me the frick out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
So it felt a lot better, and then you can choose like, okay, I want to catch a couple of these to get some experience now, but you don't have to battle every freaking one.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I love that addition, and just the fun of seeing something, because I can't remember what cave it was, but I was running through and I was looking for an Onyx and a Kangaskhan.
Probably the Dark Cave.
I think it was the Dark Cave.
Or whatever the one you have to use Flash in.
Yep. And so I'm like wandering around, and then one popped up and I was like, frick! So I'm like beelining it through stuff, and I get there and you know it ran, or like, but after a while, and I was like, crud! Like it's gonna take a while to see one of those again.
Kangaskhan or Onyx?
Kangaskhan.
Okay, yeah.
But eventually caught him or whatever. Yeah. But it was just fun to see the rare things pop up.
Oh, dude.
Because it felt more exciting than like, freaking finally. Like, geez, what is the purpose of having me run around in this grass for 20 minutes looking for this one thing, you know, to like rig the system or whatever.
Yep.
So that was a huge godsend. So I loved that. And then on top of it, so just diving into the catching mechanics too. So I know there's a lot of stuff, and I owned a Wii, so I think I'm more forgiving in the like motion control thing. I do wish they had a system to just press A. Like I think that would have been nice.
But my biggest gripe is not being able to use the $70 controller I paid for on this game. Just seems unnecessary, especially since like there is a control scheme that they've mapped out for handheld. It's like, why did you intentionally do it? It seems like the Skyward Sword or whatever, where like you had to use the motion controls to actually beat it and stuff. It's like, why force me to use the motion controls?
Right.
So, but
so I totally understand those gripes, and I think they're valid, because I think in that sense, it's frustrating in that sometimes it doesn't work well. And again, going back to my specific gripes, so when you're in handheld mode, or not in handheld, docked mode, which is what I played, and you have to throw the Pokeball. There are some Pokemon that love to just sprint around the screen.
Yep.
And there is no, I literally had times where, okay, he's on the left side of the screen, so I'll like kind of shake it to the left, and it threw it to the right. And then it was like, okay, now he's running to the right, and guess what happens? I throw it to the left, or I throw it to the right, and it goes to the left. And it's like, okay, well, I'll just throw it straight down the middle, and then it like chucks it who knows where. And so there are things like that where it's like, you are going to use this mechanic, and you're going to have a lot of difficult Pokemon that depend on me nailing this throw right in the dead center with perfect timing, all this stuff, and I can't even do that properly with some. So that was one of my bigger gripes. It didn't happen a ton, so I think that's why it wasn't like oh my gosh, this game ruined itself for me. But that was really frustrating of like, you forced us to use this throwing mechanic, and it doesn't work well in some of these instances. Or you don't lay out specifically like, hey, Pokemon kind of fly around the screen. Like, if that happens, like, hold the joystick to the left and throw it, or like hold the joystick to the right and throw it. But it's, again, they're trying to do all this stuff of like, oh, we're going to have to actually hit it, and too much. But so that's the actual technical throwing that was frustrating. However, I actually really liked not having to battle wild Pokemon in one aspect. Again, I can understand people who are frustrated that that's not a part of it, because it's a staple. I do know that, and we've mentioned that the legendaries, though, you can you can fight, and you have to fight them to catch them, which I thought was the perfect touch of like, it's a good balance. But
it makes them actually feel like boss battles,
definitely,
in some ways, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so I think why I liked the raw catching of I just have to throw it and nail it is I legitimately felt the difference throwing an Ultra Ball with a berry perfectly timed versus a Pokeball with a berry medium timed.
It's still left up to chance, but you can almost guarantee, or it feels tangibly better if I get a golden raspberry with an Ultra Ball and an excellent toss. Like, I'm almost guaranteed to get that. Whereas like in the old games, it was like, once you get them down below 33% health, it's all the same. And paralyzed, like, they could be paralyzed, asleep, whatever, and you could still not catch them.
Right, and you could throw
Ultra Balls.
Exactly, and then you chuck a Pokeball, and magically, like, that works.
Yeah.
And so that was the kind of stuff that it's a game of chance, and I understand that, but I think also the thing I've been that this game made me reflect on is how much I feel like Pokemon wastes a lot of time for me, and again, that's not to say that it's bad, because it's not designed for people who don't have a lot of time to play it in a certain sense.
Yeah,
but
it's a JRPG.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but I think to a certain level, I wish there was more efficiency in some of those things, and I felt like this game actually kind of helped with, the catching stuff and the running stuff. Like, it just felt faster. Like, if I don't want to catch stuff, I don't have to worry about running through grass or running in those areas. I can just beeline it to the next city and just be done with it. Or if I want to catch a ton of stuff, I can run around there. I can chain stuff. I can, look for rare Pokemon and do this and that, and I can actually physically or visually see the difference between like, okay, I threw a Pokeball and that did not work. It busted out immediately. Okay, I'm going to try an Ultra Ball. Hey, that actually got it. So I felt like that actually felt more rewarding than just kind of having the luck of the draw of like, oh my gosh, this is, like you said, 60 Pokeballs deep.
I totally agree. And I think the nice thing I noticed towards the end game with the catching mechanic giving experience rather than fighting is a lot of the biggest problems with the other games is if you want to train, then the strongest end game Pokemon in the wild, other than trainers like the League, are usually Victory Road, and those Pokemon tend to be Rock type, Ground type, flying like with Zubat and Golbat, and so that means you're limited to what you can actually train effectively. Whereas in this, it's like if I want to go to Cerulean Cave and just chain Chanseys for like 2 hours and get a crap ton of experience, because there's some of the Chanseys I caught gave me 20,000 experience for one Chansey. It was insane.
Dang.
But the nice thing about that is I don't have to use a fighting type Pokemon to beat him, because that's the only thing that's weak or strong against Chansey. I just have to catch him, and I don't have to worry about the types matching up with that. So in that sense, I actually really liked it. I liked that mechanic. So
yeah, and I actually did try. I only tried it once, but I did try catching. I can't remember what Pokemon it was. but I caught like 26 of them or something.
Yeah.
Like I did a 26 chain, and it was wild to see like, whoa, I'm at 20 and like, okay, there's like 2 chances that came out of nowhere. And you're like, holy crap.
The higher
like,
chain you get, the more frequent rare Pokemon start showing up.
And I love that idea of like, again, I don't understand. I think that's like, it felt fair. Like it's because I could see people saying, well, that's too easy. Like you have to earn it. And I'm like, that's just stupid. Like it's stupid for me to have to run around
200 hours to finish the Pokédex.
Right, exactly. Well, in 200 hours, probably 30 or 40 of which is just running around in grass, hoping to God that one of those things that pops up is a chansey, so you can get extra EXP because all your dudes are underleveled. Whereas this, it's like I can actually see, okay, I'm doing this thing, and this thing is actually earning me more rare Pokemon that will get me more EXP. And so
it's cool.
It just it felt like it was like, finally, like, reward me for playing your game.
Yeah.
Like stop making it feel like I have to fight against the mechanics to.
And the nice thing about that too is once you get to 31, I think 31's the max. Not the max you can go, but 31 is where it stops making any difference how many you have.
Yeah.
Then it like cuts the shiny rate in half, I think.
Oh, wow.
So once you're past 31, like your chances of finding a shiny Pokemon are like cut in half. Which goes from like 1 in 3,000 to like 1 in 1,500 or something like that, I think.
Whoa.
I might be exaggerating the difference, but it makes a big difference. So I think overall, even if they got rid of the Pokemon Go stuff and kept the overworld, the chaining and all that stuff, like being able to choose your encounters more wisely, I think that's a good quality of life improvement. Yeah. And I think it's just more fun. It's more fun, like
absolutely
walking around the world and seeing Pokemon actually existing in the world. I don't know. There's just something about it. It just feels cool.
Because that's how it would be.
Yeah, and that's how it would actually look.
Definitely.
So.
And to your point too, so with like the chaining, I 100% agree. Like I think if they wanted to add battles back in for wild encounters, I would be fine with that. I don't understand the need. I think it's a toss up. Either sense is good, but I think from the side of like the chaining mechanic is a huge addition in that people shouldn't be, bricking their system, soft resetting every time to try and catch shiny Pokemon. Like again, reward people for going out and chaining 31 of the same Pokemon. And it's like, and those things, because when I came away with that, I jumped like 10 levels between all my dudes because it was like, I've been doing this for 20 minutes and I got all the XP from all these I've caught. There's been some rare ones that have come up that have got me extra EXP. And I actually feel like, wow, even if I didn't find a shiny Pokemon in this run, I have a stronger team. I saw some cool dudes that I caught. It just felt nice. It was like, this is great. Like, I love that I actually am getting things for just being a functional part of the game. But
exactly.
Anyway.
I agree, yeah. It's fun. It's a good game. I'm trying to think of other things that I liked about it other than just the catching. I think the level scaling felt really good to me.
Yeah.
Not having wild encounters, almost like a little bit too good, which I think is the goal of this game. They wanted it to be a little bit easier because I always felt like I was 1 or 2 levels above the gym leaders, whereas you're usually 1 or 2 levels below the gym leaders. But it felt good despite not having that like wild encounters all the time, I think. So I definitely enjoyed that. Going back to the catching quick, I really liked that I could actually catch like a Tauros and a Chansey and a Kangaskhan and a Scyther.
Definitely.
Like, because those Pokemon you could only get in the Safari Zone in the old games, and they would just be like a random rare encounter, and usually they would run away after the first Safari Ball, so it's like you get lucky, you catch them. It's kind of like Raikou and Entei in Gen 2. So I've never caught those Pokemon in the original games because I just didn't have the patience for it. I was like, yes, I won't finish the Pokédex. So it took me a while to find them all, but like it felt good actually being able to like do the chaining thing and catch rare Pokemon like by it. It felt like I could actually make an effect on the world to try and find these Pokemon instead of like, I guess I'll just run around for 2 hours hoping to find one. So
right, definitely.
It was cool being able to get that, and I actually was able to complete the Pokédex. So
nice,
which is clutch.
Tight.
A lot of places in the world looked really good, in my opinion. You didn't make it this far, but the Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island, I just remember that looking really weird in the original games because like there's some parts where the floor is like broken out and the mansion's kind of like crumbling, but you with the 8-bit graphics, like you can't tell that.
Sure.
You can kind of infer like, oh, that's supposed to be a hole in the floor and you're falling through. But in this, you can actually see like structurally how it was supposed to look,
Sure.
and it's really cool.
Nice.
So if you ever get a chance to get there, it's cool.
Definitely.
Another one is the power plant with Zapdos. That place looks really cool. So
yeah, I love the whole world being in 3D.
Yeah,
Just
everything
being
just
able to
looks
see
so
everything,
good. It's crazy.
It's super cool.
What else is good?
I feel like that's the gist.
That's
and
the gist.
There's a lot of other things.
There was
I'm curious. Oh, go for it.
There was a funny dad joke. At the closer to the end, Professor Oak and Gary's there, and Oak makes a joke about like, "What's your name again?" to Blue,
Sure.
and he's like, "Stop making that joke, Grandpa. Like, you know what my name is. Stop asking people."
That's funny.
Which is funny because in the game it like asks you, "Oh, what is my nephew's name again?" In the original games, like he asks you what your rival's name is. Like, isn't he your nephew? Like,
right.
Shouldn't you know
That's
that?
funny.
So it's kind of funny that they acknowledge that like inconsistency.
That passed, yeah.
So
jumping into the cons, and I'm kind of curious for some of these things because there's a few things that I think I have nitpicks with Pokemon in general, like as a game more than just this game that I think have kind of dawned on me. But if you want to jump into some of the specifics you have,
I'll say smaller things I had was, so in this game in Fuchsia City, instead of the Safari Zone, they have Pokemon Go Park now, which allows you to transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Go into your game, which was actually kind of nice because I didn't have to rely on somebody who had a copy of Evee to complete my Pokédex. I could just trade them from Pokemon Go, so that's kind of how I did it. But part of me wishes the Safari Zone was in the game. Like, they've never shown us a better version of the Safari Zone because every time they have a chance to, it's closed or it's gone or whatever. Because in Gen 2 it was closed, shut down. In the remake of Kanto, it wasn't there. Actually, it might have been in the remake of Kanto. I might be misremembering that. But then in the remake of Gen 2, it was closed down again. It's like, come on, people, I want to see this on like good graphics. And then in this game, they got rid of it again. And it's kind of like the one nostalgic part where, like, on one hand, it kind of sucks because it's like Pokemon Go style of catching. Like, you're just kind of relying on chance almost. But there's something about it that's just like, it's cool because you like encounter all these weird random rare Pokemon you can't find anywhere else. Like that's where you get Dratini, that's where the Nidorans are, that's where Rhyhorn is. It's just like all these weird Pokemon that would have been kind of cool to have like this safari type zone to go in.
Yeah, definitely.
So
for sure,
I slightly miss that, but I can see why they replaced it with a Pokemon Go Park because
they're trying to bridge the games and all that, all that jazz.
So that's like a smaller one.
Sure.
I don't know if I could just go through my list, or if you have stuff you wanted to dive into.
If there's any, I think the one thing on here that I'll chime in with is like the Mew being in the Pokeball Plus only. I think that's valid. I think that's kind of silly to me. I feel that in recent years, especially with the 3DS games, I've been very frustrated with how legendary heavy they've been, and especially that half of them, it's like you literally have reliable Wi-Fi technology today. You do not need to put codes at GameStop or McDonald's. Like, enough of this crap.
I mean, they don't do that because they have to. They do it because they have deals with these places, probably to drive traffic. So.
Right, but it's frustrating because it's like, I'm not going to go to McDonald's. I'm not going to go to GameStop and be like, hey, do you have an Incineroar card or whatever?
Yeah, every time I go there, like, it's like, well, now
it's like, okay, thanks, deuces. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's just,
which I guess is the goal.
Right.
They want to guilt us into.
Right, but it's one of those things of like, that doesn't need to be in there. And so
I kind of miss the days of Gen 3 because I never got to participate in this whole thing because I was a kid and I didn't get the concept. Like, back in those days, you actually had to go places. Like, you had to go to GameStop and connect your Game Boy to their Game Boy, and they would transfer you this item, and then in game, that item would give you access to this whole little tiny side quest is probably a big term for it, but like for Deoxys, you got to go to the space station or whatever, and it would launch you somewhere, and you could encounter Deoxys and it's a cool little thing, or you get this like scroll that you give to this sailor, and he sails you to this unknown island, and you find Mew. Like, where's that stuff? I want to see that cool stuff, not just like go get a code and we'll give you the code, and then you go to the Pokemon Center and the guy gives you the legendary. I'm like, that's meaningless. Like, and maybe there's like hardcore collectors out there where like you can't get some of these Pokemon because of the way they shut down the DS's Wi-Fi service on the older games, but it kind of just cheapens it. Like, oh, well, next year you're just going to give us the codes for these again for the new games. So why even, like, I want to see more in-game actual, like, it would have been cool with this one where, like, because when they remade Emerald and stuff, they actually included the Delta episode where, like, you catch Rayquaza and you catch Deoxys, and it's like this whole story integrated thing. It would have been cool to have something with Mew where, like, when you go to the Cerulean Cave with Mewtwo, somehow it intertwines with a story about Mew and how Mewtwo is actually a cloned version of, like, I would have loved to see a little bit more of that narrative in there, because obviously Team Rocket's the one who did it, but, like,
just like building up the lore
nobody
that's
tells you
already
that,
there.
yeah.
Right.
So it would have been cool to have a little bit more, but...
Yeah, and I'm going to jump on that train too, because I think that's one of my general gripes, and it's more with Pokemon as recently than this game specifically, so I want to make that clear. I wish really strongly that they had better narratives in these games. They've never been known for narratives, but to me that's not an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think it doesn't need to be these mind-bending stories of these crazy things. That's one of the reasons that Gen 3 to me is my favorite, is that you actually, when the legendaries were brought into play, it was like a story thing. It was like a world catastrophe that was imminent because of these two legendaries being awakened by these teams, and it was like, holy crap! Like, I need to catch Groudon.
And the way they expanded on it in the remakes was better too.
It was awesome. And and just like the lore of like Groudon was like the legendary of Earth and like building the land, and like so now he's gonna burn all the sea away, or like Kyogre being the legendary of the sea, and now it's gonna flood every inch of land. Exactly. It was just things like that. Was like, that's so freaking dope. Like, that's just so cool.
It makes it feel like catching the legendary actually
it's like it
something.
means
like
something.
I'm stopping the earth from being destroyed by catching
because
this Pokemon.
by like doing this thing. And I feel like these games need to grab that more. And I feel like
I think story-wise they took a step back from Sun and Moon. I think with Sun and Moon they definitely started shifting the narrative a little bit with how they structure things. Because it definitely felt like you were actually experiencing some sort of narrative with the trial system and stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
So I could see maybe with the next game they'll go that direction, but I agree with you. Like, it's hit or miss with the story.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I think just having more things in it that I don't know, just play on the lore of Pokemon that just add depth to how
or add more meaning to why we're catching these Pokemon,
you're doing all these
collecting
things,
these Pokemon, other than like it literally just is a collectathon and like there's no other
because I think it has the same vibes in some senses as like a loot shooter or something, where I'm just running around catching stuff for the sake of it.
Mostly the reason I've never caught them all. I think the only time I ever made a concerted effort was when X and Y came out. I finally decided, because it was a smaller Pokédex, like, okay, I'm going to catch them all this time, and I did. But normally I'm just like, by the time I beat the game, I'm like,
you're like, whatever,
exhausted. I'm like, I don't have the patience anymore.
Well, and that's the thing is, again, reward people for playing and going through those things. Like, make an item that lets you, if you catch the entire Pokedex, like maybe have like a secret ultra mega, non-tournament for all the uber hardcore fans, mega legendary that once you catch all the Pokedex, like it unlocks some event and you can do that.
Well, in this one, if you catch all the Pokemon, you get a shiny charm, which decreases the chances of finding shiny. Like,
that's interesting,
which is cool.
Yeah, and again, and especially
so
that
it adds
built on
to
the chain
mechanic of,
and that building on the chain mechanic, it's like you are rewarded with something cool that is like, oh, that is kind of dope. You're rewarded with something that builds on the mechanics that if you play the game, you're rewarded for doing it.
Yeah,
and I feel like
I think they're getting there, but it's just it's taking so long.
Yeah, just buy into it. Like, just go for it. Like, just grab
I honestly think they're afraid. I think
100%.
I think they're afraid because not changing has served them so well. Like people. I mean, I'll buy the game no matter what they do, and it's kind of like that's almost the problem. Like, nobody's risen up and said like, no, we're not buying the same thing again. Yeah. Like, I mean, people do that, but majority of fans are going to cave and buy the game. Like, that's just, and I think like they almost have like no incentive to change things. But I feel like it's hard to gauge because this game is by no means a mainline game.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
It's almost like it's a what would you call it? I'm like blanking on. it's like a sideline game or whatever, but it like feels like a mainline game, which is kind of awesome
in terms of quality.
And the one coming out this year, 2019,
yes, sir.
That'll be the mainline game. So I'm curious to see, because like this game is almost a step back content wise. Other than graphics, I think this game is a step back from Sun and Moon, which I think is intentional because they're trying to get a whole different crowd to buy into Pokemon.
Yep.
And I'm interested to see the lines drawn from Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, to this year's Pokemon game, to see which parts they start to change again.
Yeah.
Because I think in Sun and Moon, they did change a lot of things. Like they got rid of gyms, which is a big thing. I feel like that's almost like a more bold move to make
than the Pokemon Go thing. Yeah.
And so maybe that gave him the confidence, because I feel like those games sold really well.
Yep.
So maybe that gave him the confidence to say, hey, we can change things and people will buy it.
Yeah.
So, and maybe with the Pokemon Go thing, they were testing to see how much change affects. And
for sure.
Like maybe they won't add that into the new game, but like, oh, people can adapt to change. People will still buy our games if we add new mechanics and try new things. So, yeah, I agree with you though. Like the Pokemon franchise, if I wasn't nostalgic about it, there'd be no reason.
I wouldn't care.
Like I never try and convince people to get into Pokemon who've never been into it, because it's like it's not really a meaningful experience if you're not nostalgic about it. Definitely. At least in my opinion. Like,
yeah, I would agree.
If I wasn't nostalgic about it, I probably wouldn't play it. There's there's not a whole lot there. And I hate saying that because I love Pokemon, but it's kind of like my one game where I give up all of my like concerns about video games and just play it anyway. Like I like having games that have deep, impactful, meaningful stories and meaningful characters and stuff like that, which this game kind of doesn't really have any of. I usually hate all of the characters in Pokemon. Right. I'm like, why are you so nice?
Yeah.
Get out of my rival.
Yeah, I need some anger, some angst.
Yeah.
But building on that too, I think
and I don't want that to sound like I think Pokemon is bad.
Totally. I got you.
I love Pokemon.
Right.
It's just it's it's Pokemon.
It's Pokemon. Yeah.
I agree with people who aren't interested in it because it's just, I don't know.
It's its own thing.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah. And this is more of a Nintendo gripe / Game Freak gripe than it is this specific game.
Yeah.
But I hope that they stop going back to old games, or they go back to old games that they haven't touched in a while. Part of me is I really enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed Kanto because it's probably my least favorite out of all of them, like all the gens.
Mm-hmm.
I am kind of salty that this wasn't Johto, or that this wasn't I don't know what Platinum's region is.
I feel like that's still coming.
It may be.
So here's my philosophy, or my theory about what they're doing now. I feel like they're going to remake most of the generations now in this Pokemon Go thing.
Oh, that's an interesting.
And I feel like that's outside of the bounds of the standard release cycle of the mainline Pokemon games.
Sure.
So I feel like in the standard release cycle of Pokemon games, they're still going to have new gen, remake in new gen, and then new gen, and then depending on how they work it out, third game in previous gen or something like that.
Sure.
Like they have been forever, other than X and Y.
Right.
So I feel like we're still getting fourth gen, and I don't think it's going to be in the Let's Go series. I feel like it's going to be in still the main line. Like it's a fourth gen game that takes place in the current gen continuity. Like
sure.
You can catch all the Pokemon. It's completely remastered, but it's like a new universe with all of the Pokemon, Mega Evolution, whatever. Whereas I feel like with Pokemon Let's Go, I feel like a Johto game is going to come.
Yeah, there's some nods, and there's a lot of and you put it on here, but there's a lot of nods to Alola as well. Yeah. And I think there's just, and again,
it's hard to predict what they're going to do.
Yeah, and that's very. I will totally own that as my preference, in that there's you ask anybody,
I don't think you're
have
alone
different.
With that. I think a lot of people on Reddit are kind of just like, leave Kanto alone. Like, we're nostalgic about it, but like we'll take anything. Like, give us fourth gen finally. Give us Johto or whatever.
Right.
Like, I think,
or like Black and White, like two of the games that I feel like got the least amount of love. Yeah. It just kind of came out and people didn't really.
So I don't blame them for doing Kanto.
I agree.
Because it's a very safe move.
Yeah.
It's a very safe move because you got Pikachu and Evee. Like, two of the most popular Pokemon. Like, but yeah, I think it's gotten to the point where more than half of the players probably never even played the original Pokemon games originally.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people probably started in 3rd or 4th gen, and there's probably even some fans now who are like, they're 6th geners. Like, they're like, we want to see 6th gen on the Switch. And all of us old Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3ers are like, no, those just came out like 2 years ago.
Are you crazy? No.
So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting time for Pokemon because I think the fan base is so diversified now with like who's nostalgic about what.
Yeah, that's a
like,
good point.
I kind of just assume everybody's nostalgic about Gen 1 and Gen 2 because like that's Pokemon. That's like the roots.
defining years.
But other people are like, those are dumb. Like, they're crappy
They're
games.
old.
Like, what about Gen 4, Gen 5? Like, they don't give enough love to those Pokemon.
Yeah.
Which is kind of true. But those games also kind of flopped in their day and
when
age.
they came out.
I think that was kind of the lull of Pokemon before it got big again. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we still saw a Gen 4 remake
and
in the
I think
current
you're right.
continuity and not in the Let's Go continuity. I feel like if they're going to continue on with that, they're going to keep it linearly. I'd love to see a Let's Go Johto where you can go back to Kanto, but like,
be honest,
if they tie it in narratively, like, oh, it is like 10 years later and Kanto's kind of run down, and because it always felt like run down just because it didn't feel like they put a lot of dev time into it, so it felt like the world had kind of moved on and things were crappy because of that. But it was just because it was like poorly, it was underproduced in some ways.
Yeah.
So
no, and to be honest, from my perspective, I would love to see them, do a mainline game, and then in the off year, just do. Okay, you started with Kanto, do Johto, then do Hoenn, and just go along the line and just do Let's Go versions of all those, and just being like, we're trying to create a new experience out of these games, because I would totally play them, probably not to completion, but there's part of me like, I would love to play Gen 3 in this version.
Yeah.
Just some of the Pokemon
I'm a little
out.
bit hesitant though, because I'd almost like to see more like diversity in Pokemon. Like, I want some Coliseum type games, or I want like
narrative core based.
I want like actual like JRPG that isn't focused on like catching them all, but catching a select few. Like, you had to purify certain Pokemon in Coliseum and XD, or like something different that's like a refreshing take on the Pokemon universe that doesn't depend on just the standard formula.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say I'm getting sick of it, because I'll probably just always play Pokemon. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't mind something new. I wouldn't mind something different. Like, especially with the Switch and the hardware we have, like, give me an open world Pokemon game.
Yes.
I don't know. Like,
yes.
I don't know what that would look like, and I'd probably be hesitant about it at first, but like, I don't know. Do something.
No, I'm
do
glad,
something to change the game here.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was kind of my big gripe.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of jumping into like our wishes
our
now with,
meta,
with
our
the
meta
Pokemon
stuff.
universe. Yeah,
I think my thing with Pokemon currently, with how I've been experiencing it recently, and it's hard because we're talking about a game that is geared towards children, and I'm not. That's not an absent thought. Like, I totally realize that I'm talking about this thing of like,
Before you get into that, do we want to like close off our review and say like,
yes,
should you buy it? Should you not buy it? Sort of.
I think
just
my opinion is, if you are a Pokemon fan in either spectrum, I think you need to play this game.
Yeah.
I think it's worth your time. I think it's a lot of fun. I think for fans who haven't played a Pokemon game in a long time, you're going to experience a lot of things that are probably going to feel jarring at first, but I think will very quickly grow on you for the better. And I think even for the hardcore fans too, just to play something and just experience it. Like, don't worry about all the nuances of all these things, especially when they've already announced that there's a mainline game coming in 2019. Yeah. Just chill out. So, but that's my opinion.
I agree. I think if you've got a Switch and you're a Pokemon fan, I would pay $60 to play this game.
100% agree. Yeah.
If you don't have a Switch and the only reason you want to get a Switch is because of Pokemon, I would wait till Pokemon next year and then retroactively buy this game, because this game will be on sale. Like, Pokemon, out of all the Nintendo games, Pokemon always goes on sale, usually half off or more during seasonal sales.
Yep.
So that's the fortunate part.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say to buy a Switch just to play this game.
Absolutely not.
But if you're going to get a Switch anyway, eventually, it can't hurt to get it. And play this game.
This game is not a system seller,
Yeah.
but I think it's if you have the system or are going to be getting the system, definitely
it's
should
worth
be on your
it's worth
list.
playing. I think it's got about 30 hours of content if you want to beat most of the stuff. And then with the master trainers, depending on how much you want to delve into.
Well, with the shiny hunting, shiny hunting is actually made accessible.
Made it so it's easier. I think somebody did a calculation, and the lowest you can get it with all of the multipliers is like 1 in 200.
Which is insane.
That's really good compared to what it has been. So like, if you're into the shiny hunting thing, like this is your
the perfect game.
So
definitely.
I think I would probably give it like a 8 out of 10, like most people are giving.
Yeah.
So
things that I didn't like, but the majority of the game was fun. It was a fun return to Kanto. That's how I would sum it up. It was a very fun, enjoyable return to Kanto.
All of the nostalgia things I was hoping to get, I got.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Definitely.
And it felt good. So
yeah. Okay. So jumping back into where we were at, my gripe right now is Pokemon is an RPG, JRPG. And I feel that they are not fully grasping, and this is again, there's probably there's a huge list of reasons absolutely why they shouldn't do this, but I think they, in my opinion, they should cater the next few games to multiple age groups, because I think that's one of the things that I feel that if I ever put Pokemon down, it isn't going to be because I'm bored of it and it's bad. It's just I'm not going to care about what they're doing for me in my stage of where I as a fan will enjoy this. Mm-hmm. And I think so much of their Pokemon is one of those weird games where so much of their market isn't in just, oh, it's a kids game and only kids play this. It's like, no, and there's a ton of like 30-year-olds who are, pour hours into this. There's
lot of
competitive
their fans
players.
Are nostalgia
and there's a lot of, I would say
driven.
A good chunk are probably older fans, and I think equally a good chunk are younger fans. And so I wonder if there's a way, and I think this is what they should do, is they should create a game that someone young can come in and play it and enjoy it and find value in it, and someone who's older can do the same thing and be challenged by what's coming in. Because I feel like right now they're picking and choosing, and I don't think they need to do that. I think you can design again, in my gaming knowledge, like
the thing is, like they did this with Sun and Moon, the first ones. Ultra Moon, they kind of streamlined it a bit, but I feel like they just assume kids are dumb. Like
exactly.
Dude, I was like 6 years old.
And
granted,
you figured
I couldn't
it out.
figure out how to get out of the house at the beginning. But once I got out of there, like I beat the game, and like I've loved that game ever since. Like I'll talk about it day and night about how much I love blue, red, and yellow. And so like, but I was a small child who had no clue what he was doing, and those games are relentless with a lot of things, and the scaling and the type matchups don't make sense because of the way stats worked and stuff in the earlier games. So like nowadays it's like they just spoon feed it to you.
Well,
like,
and
I feel like kids don't actually need that. Like,
no, and they're spoon feeding them in the age of YouTube. Like, like if we had those issues,
we didn't have YouTube.
You were lucky if you got the 20 minutes to go on GameFAQs and like
guide,
Google it. You know,
exactly.
Like that was cutting edge. Was being able to like go on GameFAQs and look up a 300-page text document that some dude in his basement wrote on how to beat the game. Like that was where we were at. Whereas now you're like, you have dudes who their whole channel and their whole livelihood is based on just being like, oh yeah, you want to catch this Pokemon and increase your rates, you just go here and do this for 20 minutes.
Exactly.
And it's a 30-second video.
And kids know how to do that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like
I don't
get
it. I don't get the child dumbing down part of it.
I agree that I agree that they should just learn to make the game for both age groups, which I think it already was. I think by dumbing it down, they're almost tipping it too far towards the kids side.
Yeah.
Whereas like the competitive aspects were always there, and it's nice that each time they add it, make it easier and easier to like you don't have to do some weird devilry to figure out what your Pokemon's IVs are now. Like you can just look at them. So like they're doing a lot of stuff like that, but they're also making it too tutorial-y. It's like I feel like JRPGs in general, and from what I've experienced, like they don't hold your hand. Like you just you're in the game. Like I remember the old Zelda games on Game Boy. Like I had to use guides because like I'm dumb and I don't know. Like where the heck am I supposed to go next? Where am I supposed to get the item that unlocks this thing? Like they're almost like, because even in Let's Go, like all the HMs, like you used to have to like hunt them down sometimes, and like you'd have to go through the whole Safari Zone and get the guy's gold teeth and then bring them back to him and he'd give you strength. Now you just go there and you find his gold teeth in the sand on the beach. Jesse and James like give them to you and then you give it to him, and it kind of like it just walks you through everything that used to have to be a little bit harder.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think the reason I desire that is with it being a role-playing game, I think there's part of me that it would be a lot of fun. You play against a bunch of adults, and I think sometimes as an adult or an older person playing this, it'd be kind of fun to be, Jesse and James's age and like playing that, or like to be, an older character instead of this like 12-year-old kid who's just like apparently allowed to roam the world, be the best trainer there ever was, and that's fine. And again, like when you do a character, like just make the character creation more robust, like create, like instead of maybe like you leaving your mom's house, like you're leaving an apartment building, or like you're leaving your own personal house if you choose an older character, or maybe you just like there's little things that I think would create that distance between I'm playing this as a 12-year-old and I'm just like playing the game, whereas like, wow, I'm kind of actually dedicated in making my character, because I feel like that's part of it is you want your character to be cool and to have all the best stuff, but I feel like you don't get that experience. You're just getting all the stuff because that's the game. Like the game is to get stuff, because that's what I love about the Mass Effect series is this is my variation of Shepard. My variation of Shepard is going to be the most dope, bloodthirsty animal, like guns-toting dude ever. It's not like, oh, well, he's this. Like, and you just
there's a little bit more nuance.
Yeah,
to it,
exactly.
Whereas this game doesn't have nuance really.
Well, especially when like Pokemon Go, like your avatar is older looking, and so I don't understand, and specifically saying this with the sense that this franchise has a very stratified fan base. So let people be one or the other, or just a range. Like, don't, like, why does it have to be capped so tightly on, you're a middle school kid, you know? And again, that's me coming from like, 24-year-old adult who's like...
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's one of those games where like when people say that's a kid's game, you're like, it is a kid's game. Like, whereas like a lot of other games, people say video games are for kids, but like most of the games we play are not geared towards 100%, kids. They're rated R. Like, they're not kids games.
Right.
Whereas this game, it's like, okay, like these are geared towards kids. Yep. But I think you're right in the sense that they are geared towards kids, but I feel like they could do more to not be geared towards kids, because a lot of their fan base isn't actually kids anymore. Like, we've grown up with this series, and now we're actually like adults who are working jobs and married and all this stuff. And maybe their answer is stop playing our game.
I don't know,
but I don't know. I feel like there's more there, and maybe that's where different types of games come into play. Like, you have the mainline Pokemon game, which kind of plays it safe, and then in the off seasons, that's why I'm kind of wary about Let's Go, because now the off seasons are just another Pokemon game.
Sure.
Instead of like, oh, let's make a Coliseum remaster or a Coliseum XD sequel that comes after those two games in the new hardware. Like, I don't know. It just thinking about what that could be just blows my mind. And
it could be
like,
awesome.
I really want something that has, because I feel like those games had a little bit deeper of a story. Like, you're actually trying to purify these Pokemon who have been like corrupted and made evil. And like, there's none of that in the mainline Pokemon games. Like, the bad guys are usually just like, oh, we want to take over the world sort of thing. So
I feel like what they need to do to Pokemon is just give it a Pixar touch, where, Pixar, it's like these are animated films that are designed for kids. But if you're older, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to appreciate, and there's a lot of depth to it that you're going to appreciate. And I feel like these are the exact games, and this is the exact franchise to do that with, to give it a little Pixar-style magic, to amplify it for adults who are going to be able to grasp on and enjoy certain things. Of like, it's kind of funny. I know what you're joking about, but then also for kids to just be like, hey, Pokemon, Pikachu,
And that, it's kind of like the perfect time to do it, because a lot of the reason Pixar does that is because they know that, like, to get these kids to the movies, like, they have to get the parents interested. Like, the parents have to be willing to actually go see their movies with the kid. Otherwise, they're going to be like, no, it's dumb. Right. So now we're all at the age where, like, a lot of people who play Pokemon as a kid and who have played Pokemon actually have kids.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of people say, like, with Let's Go, like, oh, I can't wait to actually, like, play this alongside my kid co-op.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Yeah,
teach them how to play Pokemon so they get
definitely.
into it. And like I think with that fan base in mind now, I agree. I think they should start thinking of more nuanced way of approaching things. So,
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that, and that does seem like
tricky.
a pretty big leap for Game Freak to make, especially
Yeah.
with how their track record of making changes. Maybe we'll see that in 10 years, but
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's an interesting time because I feel like there's so much they can do now with the hardware we have. Because with the 3DS, it's kind of a huge jump between the 3DS to the Switch now. That my guess is they'll play it safe for a couple years before they like get their. Maybe after this first game, they're already ready to like jump into it and like, okay, let's utilize this hardware. Or maybe the game comes out this year and we're just blown away by what the heck they've done on the Switch.
Right.
Like, I can't even imagine what it's going to be. Like, in my mind, it's just the same thing.
Right.
But like, I can't imagine the same thing being on the Switch and not utilizing what's available there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it's interesting too because the 3DS, I feel they were backed into a corner where the majority of people who had a 3DS were kids. So I think to me, the average adult has a PS4 and an Xbox and all this stuff. It's just a cliche, but it's true. And I mean, I have a 3DS, but but specifically for the Pokemon games to play those. And so
the marketing has switched.
Right.
The
So
Switch's
I wonder
marketing
if
was our age.
Exactly. So I wonder if this is going to be from a console perspective. This is their time to do a drastic upswing like that, to give that option, because one, they probably have the design hardware to pack in more content so they can create some of those variations. Two, the majority of the people who own Switches are not 6-year-olds. And granted, they are out there because
mostly because
parents,
of the price.
But that's the thing. Like, that's the thing that kind of cracks me up with some of these older franchises and stuff is you absolutely should not just be like, well, all the kids who used to play this are 30 now, so like we're going to make it an adult version thing. It's like, that's not what we're saying. But what we're saying is acknowledge that the people who are enjoying these games are older now. And there's some of us who are like, if you threw this in there, like, that'd be kind of cool. Like, I'd enjoy that. And 3, I make a lot of money a year. Like, 6-year-old kids.
Dude, we got the money, man.
It's like we have the money to actually pump stuff into this. So if you make cool stuff, who are the majority of the time are going to be the ones putting the extra funds into it. It's probably going to be us. So I feel like it's a good time to do it, but I don't know. It's a dream. It's a pipe dream. My dream for the next game is that it is all gens combined and you actually go from each region, actually have to beat all the Elite Fours, and you actually have to be the best trainer in the world. That is your journey. It's not going to happen.
It ain't going to happen.
I'm going to freak the frick out if it is, because that would be unbelievable. But I want to game
maybe if
from the next
Pokemon was on
one.
the PS4.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if the Switch could handle all gens,
Hey man,
all Pokemon.
they got Breath of the Wild on
I
there
guess,
somehow,
yeah.
so they could do it. But what I really, really, really desire to the next one is I just want more value in terms of the narrative, in terms of what I'm doing as I'm playing this game. I want to feel that this is my character, that I'm living vicariously through this digital character, like these other games that I get to play.
Yeah, I agree. I think more of a focus on end game content too.
Yeah,
the end game
100%.
shouldn't just be catch 'em all. The end game, like, because I think they did better with that in Sun and Moon, like with the Ultra Beasts and the detective agency and stuff. But I think I'm just hoping they utilize the Switch's hardware to some extent.
Yep.
I know that they're not going to do the all gens thing, so I've written that off my mind the past 2 or 3 gens.
Jokers in Smash, anything's possible,
I know,
baby.
anything's possible.
Yeah.
And until they get Banjo-Kazooie and Smash, I'm not believing anything's possible.
It's all possible.
So yeah, I agree with you though. I think there's a lot they can do, but I don't know.
We'll
are there
see.
things in Let's Go that are new that you'd like to see in the new games?
I really want to see the Pokemon out in the wild. That's my biggest thing.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
If they don't keep that, I'm going to be a little bummed.
Yeah, I think Let's Go didn't do this, but I would want them to do this in the next game, is put legendaries behind some kind of narrative thing that I have to complete, or some kind of challenge I have to complete, or just something. Like
the Reggies, I loved that.
Yeah, oh
you
my
had
gosh.
To, like, decipher the Braille and have the right Pokemon with you.
Well, and that was the thing that I crave so desperately, is the experience that I had when I just happened to find Rayquaza. Literally, just
you
because
like climb that tower and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what is this little green
I found
turd
it on
sitting here?
accident. Like there's like that, to get there you had to go through all those stupid wave things,
Yep.
and I actually finally could make it through there, and I was like, oh, I'll just kind of go around. Oh, well, this looks weird. And like, I don't know, there's probably some cool stuff in here. And then there's like dust clops everywhere, and I'm like, there's something's in here
because these high level Pokemon.
Yeah, it's like and then you get to the top, and you're like, I'm sorry, what? And it like those kind of experiences they need to channel again of like give us something that we just happen to frickin' find, and it's just like, holy cow, like this is nuts, because that was what was so, I think, solidified Pokemon as my nostalgic game, was those feelings. And that was a different era. I couldn't just pull up my smartphone and go on YouTube and find, oh, I heard Rayquaza's in this game, where do I find it? But just like give us stuff to do. Like, just give us more stuff to do than just like beat all the gym leaders, beat Team Rocket or Team XYZ or whatever, beat the Elite Four, beat the rival. Like put stuff in there. Like put things in there. Put cool items that do like really crazy cool stuff. Like, don't be afraid to give us the cool things after we earn them. Like, don't hide them in stores across the country. Like, hide them in the game and give us the ways to get those things in the game. That's all I got. So otherwise, I'm gonna start ranting.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to. I don't know. Looking at what they did with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I think they did a lot of really good things in that generation. The thing I hate the most is the rival. I want your rival to actually be your rival and not some dweeb.
Right.
You're like almost the rival because you have to be the one who's like bad. You're like, smell you later. He's like, I had a fun time battling you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that was great.
Shut up, nerd. Yeah.
But yeah, I think if they keep on the trajectory they went, because I think they did, in a lot of ways, they took a lot of shifts in the way that they do things. And I'm hoping that translates into the newest hardware on the Switch, and they do a lot of that stuff again and shift things, and then use some of the new mechanics that worked really well from Let's Go. I hope that makes its way too. I think I could do without any of the Pokemon Go integration. I think that's unnecessary for the mainline series in some senses.
Yeah. In terms of actually trading Pokemon to your phone kind of thing?
To be honest, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I wouldn't be opposed to being able to connect Pokemon Go, and I'd be almost surprised if they didn't, because I feel like, why not? Why wouldn't they want all Pokemon players to play together, sort of? And that's another thing to get them into. But I don't know if I want the catching mechanics in the way that they are implemented now. If they could figure out some other way of doing it,
just nuance it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, based on what they did in Let's Go, and based on what they started to do in Sun and Moon, I'm pretty optimistic about this year's Pokemon game. I think it's going to be...
Agreed. Oh, I'm really
I don't think
excited.
It's going to be as revolutionary as I want it to be for a Pokemon game on the Switch.
I agree.
And maybe that's the 2 years after that game is just like...
Yeah.
Once they kind of figure out, okay, this is what people want, this is what they want. But I feel like this year's Pokemon game is going to be fantastic.
Honestly,
when they announce
really
it, I'm just going to
excited.
Probably die for that day. I'm going to be like... I can't work
really
anymore today.
I'm excited. Yeah.
So
it'll be cool. And even just the fact that it's going to be, again, on a TV tethered or potentially TV tethered console.
And
I think to me it's
please
just
let
awesome.
me use the controller.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll restrict it on that game.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I really hope not.
Because I'd love to be able to play on the TV just with a nice controller and sit back. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if I have any other things that there's I could probably talk about Pokemon for 10
I'm sure we could
straight,
until the cows come home, baby.
So
I have to show you a hilarious it's an audio bite from a Conan episode.
Oh gosh.
And
Love Conan.
You're gonna lose your mind. It's fantastic. But I'll play it for you after that. But anyway, you good? Any other closing thoughts or
I think that's it. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's a good start to 2019.
Yeah, it's the first kickoff on 2019, folks. Be ready for an awesome year. I think I'm really excited with what we're going to be doing.
There's a lot of movies coming out this year. So
yes, there's going to be a lot of reviews.
Films.
I think we're hoping to get some new guests on. We're going to have some stretch guests that maybe if we actually get them and contact them and do that, we'd love to have them back on. Returning guests, we'll see.
Oh yeah,
dude, this is going to be an awesome
year. It's going to be a good year.
2019 is going to be an
year
awesome year.
Year 2, baby.
Cyberpunk.
Year 2.
Cyberpunk.
Dude.
If it comes out, I'm going to lose my mind. That and Pokemon, my 2 only games for the year. And Kingdom Hearts 3. But those will be my 3 games for the year.
Oh,
but
there's so many games next year that I want to get, though.
Yeah, I know, right?
We'll probably have an episode in a couple of weeks.
Definitely. Running through all those.
On that, yeah.
Cool.
So,
well, with that note, thanks for tuning in to our Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Evee discussion. We hope you had fun catching all our thoughts, catching them all.
Catching all of our thoughts.
Too easy. And with that, you can find our episodes for our show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and Spotify. We have Twitters where you can reach out to us and interact. We'd love to hear from you. And you can follow us at Six Wing Creative, at I am Phil Sorensen, at C San Pellegrino, and at Chris of the Vast, who's our boy Chris. And we've got some merch up on Redbubble. We had 2 designs that went up 2 weeks ago. So not just last week, but 2 weeks ago. So we have a Dining Out Hierarchy t-shirt that references one of our very first Tilt Brigade episodes with our reboot with Chris. Applebee's is number 1. And we have a Posy Vibes Variation 1 and Variation 2 with kind of like a rocker horns fist and Posy Vibes text on one and then just the rocker fist on another. And of course the legendary silver dollars. So we haven't had any sales on those. They were like, we told you, don't be surprised, but they'll get there. They'll get there. They'll make a comeback this year. 2019's their year, baby.
2019's their year.
Year of the silver dollar. And so it's the merch. You can send any ideas, questions, whatever to at Pop Culture Punks, which is our Twitter. You can follow us also on Instagram at Pop Culture Punks. We tend to post like a goofy picture or something for our episodes. And
check us out on Facebook as well.
Check us out on Facebook. And you can also send us emails at popculturepunks@gmail.com. All the ads.
Too many ads.
Ads. And with that, this has been the very first episode of the year 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We are so excited to be jumping in this new year with y'all. We hope you had a good time. We hope that 2018, goodness sakes, all these years. Too many years, too many ads.
Too many ads.
Too much stuff.
Too much everything.
Too much everything, but not this year. There's going to be just enough.
Just enough.
And with that, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your listens, and we will catch you on the next one. But until then, we bid you a fond 2019-sized cowabunga.
Job security, but I've been dreaming about packing it all up, cause the war in me just won't relent till there's nothing left but dust. So what do you do when the walls start closing in and everyone you love tells you it's all just in your head?